Water the roots. Enjoy the fruits. We could learn a lot about our own nature by studying nature. Because we are nature. And I have grown so much and come to know myself at deeper and deeper levels by working closely with the land and spending very intentional, quiet, thoughtful time in nature. This nest, which is holding buffalo gourds and apple snail shells that I collected. Well, I collected these apple snail shells from Crescent Lake in St. Petersburg, Florida, as well as a lot of these feathers. I am currently in Austin, but when I'm in St. Pete, I start every morning with a walking meditation around Crescent Lake. And as part of that meditation, I collect feathers. And at that same lake, I was meditating under a tree, and I asked God, I put the thought out there to God that I would like something to put my feathers in, to have them on display. And I was thinking like a tray. That's what I had in mind. That's what I visualized. But I kid you not, within 30 minutes of me leaving my meditation under that tree, I was driving to see a friend, and I took a wrong turn, and this hat was laying in the middle. This is a hat. It was laying in the middle of the road. And I passed it, and then God said, go back. That's like, go back. And I went back, and I picked it up, and I looked at the inside, and I noticed how it's all weaved together, and immediately I thought, oh, this is for my feathers, and look how it makes a perfect nest. And this is better than anything I could have imagined, because if I would have put my feathers on a tray, a flat tray, I was thinking like a tea serving set, they would blow away if I were to bring them outside, which is what I was thinking, is that I could have them in ceremony or in meditation. If I was with others, I could give my feathers away. But this is even more beautiful and symbolic, I think, of what occurs when we are meditating, which is that we are basically planting seeds or laying eggs, creating a nest for our thoughts, our intentions to incubate in. And like I said, we are nature. There's so many metaphors that you can think of or come up with about our own lives and our human existence and nature. And I've found a lot of growth and a lot of learning in gardening. And I often think of meditation as, just as I think of it as a creating a nest or an incubator for my thoughts and my desires to manifest, which I try to make sure those things are in alignment with God's desires and God's will. But I often think of gardening in the same way. And if you look at, as in planting a seed and letting it grow and come to fruition. right? That's a manifestation. And if you look at plants and you study plants, let's say you take a tree. Trees are so magnificent. And what we see when we look at a tree with our visual eyes, we see with our physical eyes, we see branches reaching upward to the sun, to the sky. And this is where we find the fruit that we collect and that nourishes our bodies. But below the soil is the root structure, which mirrors the branches. As above, so below. And it's only because of that deeply rooted structure below the earth that the tree is able to stand at all and reach to the heavens and hold the weight of the fruit that it bears. And you can liken this root structure to what occurs in meditation when we go inward and we connect to Source, to God. We are sending our roots down deep, and we are bringing up sustenance, wisdom, information that we can imbibe, ingest, synthesize, and create fruits from. And a lot of times, especially in our culture, we focus on the fruit, the outward expression, the action. We go, 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 go. And we fail to actually develop the root structure, which is actually where we derive the nutrients that goes into the fruits. You will know a person by their fruits, right? And there are a lot of fruits floating around that have absolutely no nutritive substance. They look very pretty, but because they've come from a tree that has no substantial root structure, they've not been imbued with the nutrients that is obtained when a root structure dives down deeply and accesses biomass, nutrients, minerals that are in the earth. It's the same thing with our souls. If we're not going inward and we're not listening and we're not making space, then we're not diving deeply and we're not getting the wisdom that it takes to bear good fruit. We're going to make poisonous, rotten fruit. And this is the dangerous part about always focusing on how, yes, I'm a manifester. I want this, I want that. We focus on what we want, but we don't focus on whether or not is the thing we should want. And the only way we can come to know what that is, what we should want, is by going inward and listening to God. God has to tell us that. Only God knows. We don't know what's best for us. Another way that I have learned about the nature of humanity, humans, myself, by studying nature, particularly plants, through gardening and permaculture, is through the study of food forests. I've learned a lot about community and how we are all fingers on the same hand, and how we are all connected and how we all need each other, and how evident that is when you can see that in nature everywhere, that everything that exists is here for a reason. That's why it's here. Everything has its place and its purpose. And you see this in a food forest. Like, a food forest is a very deliberate type of garden that mimics the natural spatial layers that you find within a forest. If you go out into the wild, you will see in a forest, a wild forest, you have the tallest layer, which is the canopy, the tallest trees. Then under that you have your understory, and then your shrubs, and then your herbaceous layer, and then your ground cover, and your root crops, and your vining plants, and your fungi. And if there's water, you have aquatic plants. Okay, all of these plants work together to help each other grow, protect each other, fertilize each other, give each other shade. They all fulfill certain functions so that none of them, the whole system couldn't exist without every one of these types of plants fulfilling their role. Okay, ground covers lock moisture into the earth so that plants might drink of water. They also block weeds that might take over and eat up all the nutrients. Tall trees will provide a structure upon which a vine can grow. There are certain plants which are leguminous, meaning, leguminous plants are able to take atmospheric nitrogen and store it in their roots. And then when those roots break off through the dropping of leaves, because when a branch or a leaf falls, some part of that root of that plant will also slough off, and at that time it will release nitrogen into the soil that it has taken from the atmosphere, and that nitrogen will fertilize the plants around it. You see how magnificent and magical and perfect nature is? Humans are the same. None of us are exactly alike. We all have certain gifts, certain strengths, and certain weaknesses. And my strengths will help to fill in the gap of someone else's weaknesses, and vice versa. This is why in communities, you don't have all of the same person, all of the same profession. You know, you can't have a community full of doctors. You can't have a community full of garbage men. Like, there's so many different things that humans need, and each of us can provide or fill that a certain specific role. And we tend to look down on certain professions while exalting others, when the truth is that none of us would exist without everybody else. We are here for a reason. Like, if we didn't have a purpose, we wouldn't be here. God doesn't make mistakes. You see in nature that there are certain species that if they were removed from their ecosystem, the entire ecosystem would collapse. That's called the keystone species. Every system has that. And sorry, I got distracted. There's a dog. There's a dog making noise. Let me get back on track here. We all have a purpose. We all have a meaning. And the proof of that is that we exist. And for anyone who is struggling to find purpose and meaning and reason, for anyone struggling with anxiety and depression, I really, really encourage you to get outside. Take a walk, meditate near a river, hear the sound of rushing water, listen to the sound of the birds. It'll help regulate your nervous system, and if you just stay still and you pay attention, it will also teach you lessons. We don't know what it is that we don't know, okay? And we should, for that reason, we should just ask for things hidden to be revealed to us, okay? Because even the questions that we're able to formulate and ask, that's rooted in a certain level of ignorance, right? We don't even know what it is we should be asking. Really. We don't know much of anything. So we should surrender to that. If we hope to have peace and to become wise, I think the greatest thing we could do is humble ourselves and be still and be quiet and listen and look and observe. And be accepting of what God has provided for us. And not act like selfish, self-absorbed little children who nothing is ever good enough for. That's what it is. Like when we're going around constantly changing God's creation, messing with it, mimicking it in ways that are aberrant, bending it to our own will, only problems come from that. And that's why we see the problems we do in the world. That's why people are so sick and torn apart. That's why we see so much division, is because we've fallen out of harmony. We've lost our way. We've forgotten what our role is in this natural system. And we don't need to recreate the wheel. We don't need to recreate it. It's already out before us. There's lots of wheels that God already made. Okay? And in humanity, we're a spoke within the wheel of life. But we've taken ourselves outside of it. And we need to hop back in. We need to get back in the circle. And but first we need to actually just observe and seek to have it revealed to us how best to go about that. Because like I said, we've forgotten. We've been born into, so many generations have passed since human beings have been out of the circle and out of touch with our nature, with nature. We've denied that we are part of nature. For so long we've been living that way that we actually don't know what it is to be human anymore. We are asking Alexa, a computer, an AI system, Alexa, what is it to be human? How ironic is that this thing that we created that's not human is teaching us how to be human? No, nothing good's gonna come of that. So throw out your Alexa, step one. Then go outside and sit by a river and meditate. And maybe plant a garden and care to it to fruition. Build the soil, plant the seed, care for the seed. Make sure that plant receives the right conditions so it can thrive and bear fruit. And then when you pick that fruit, share it with somebody you love. Chew it slowly, really, really taste it and know that when you eat of that fruit, you become that fruit and that fruit becomes you. And it's a circle. Had you not planted the seed and cared for it to maturity and harvest it and prepared it, you never would have gotten to eat it. And then you eat it and you expel it into your excrement, and then you put that excrement back in the earth, and it helps build the soil to which you can plant a new seed into. This is why death is an illusion in many ways. It's a circle. It's all life. Death exists within life. It's part of the cycle of life. Just like birth. So this is me sitting outside today, this morning, deepening my root structure, going within, planting some seeds, some ideas, some intention. First, asking God to imbue me with His wisdom and guidance, so that I know what to plant, so that my desires be inspired by the will of God. The desireless desire is what I'm going for. To be a pure channel and a vessel for the love and the light of God. And I believe that in living that way, with that intention, that my roots will continue to dive deeper and deeper and deeper, and will be able to access information and wisdom that my small mind and intellect and senses could never touch. And that is the fruit that comes of that deep dive, of the accessing of that deep wisdom. The fruit that produces, that's the fruit that I wish to eat of. And I wish to share that fruit with my brothers and sisters. So that's why I live the way I do. That's why I choose to work closely with the land and spend time outside, and to garden and to grow my own food, and to do walking meditations and collect feathers and make nests. I also made this beautiful, what would you call this? A staff. It's not really a staff. It's like a wand. I'm not trying to do magic. Don't worry. I think a lot of people get scared because we've been conditioned to believe that like something like making something like this is a sign of like witchcraft or voodoo. No. This is God's beauty. Nature. This is nature, and I appreciate it, and I respect it, and I love it, and I worship my God. And the way that you can see that is by the fact that I do appreciate the beauty, that I care, right? You wouldn't go into someone's house that you loved and start destroying it, throwing trash on the ground, and changing things to suit your own desires. No, that's not how you act when you go to someone's house. This is God's house, okay? God has made so many beautiful things for us to enjoy, so many beautiful beings for us to interact with, and we should respect and care for all of it. That's a sign that we are in love with and appreciative of and worshipful, right, of God. So, I'm not a witch, don't worry.